Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. Just landed at the Pensacola airport, flying back from the Pro Bowl in Orlando, now driving to Mobile. So going to be in the car for most of the day, but not through to Mobile, through Mobile to New Orleans. We'll be in New Orleans by the time we do afternoon drive here with Smitty. A lot to talk about, I'm sure, between now and then. First up, though, I want to answer a question from Friday's episode regarding the comments made by Julian Edelman about the Steelers defense and their defensive strategy under head coach Mike Tomlin. And I can't read the question here, but the gist of it is it true? And is that a problem for the Steelers? And yeah, I mean, I think it has been true to varying degrees over time that the Steelers basically, in terms of coverages, not really talking about the front, because the front has changed a good bit over time, with different personnel and things like that. But in terms of coverages, traditionally, going back 30 years, the Steelers are a cover three team. And there have been times in the interim where they've kind of gotten away from that for different reasons. Um, but they are back to being a dominant cover three team right now. Cover three, cover one was like 65% of their defense this year. And the question is that a problem? And you know, you can kind of look at it a couple different ways, right? The strength of a cover three defense and cover three. Don't have the whiteboard with me, obviously, but basically your outside corners are on an island. They have to follow those guys. Deep is the deepest man, wide is the widest man. The center field safety is in the middle of the field. And you have zones underneath, 4 zones underneath, where you will use your strong safety and your linebackers and to make a either 3 across or 4 across zone underneath the bottom of the uh, cover three. There's a variation of it called spot drop, which is like the most basic variation of cover three. And I feel like the Steelers probably use it more than just about anybody. Uh, what are the limitations and advantages of that defense? Well, it's pretty good against the run. You're putting your strong safety right up there against the run. It's one of the reasons why Deshaun Elliott was able to be so effective against the run this season is that he's playing zone coverage, so he's facing the play, and then he's close to the line of scrimmage at snap. So, like when you're playing man, and your receiver starts to move down the field, your defenders have to turn and run with that player. They have to turn their back to the football so they don't know whether in an RPO scheme it's going to be a run or a pass, right? They're reacting late. So a cover three defense lets you get your strong safety close to the line of scrimmage, and it's good against the run. Is it good against the pass? Not really. I mean, if you have really money outside corners, you can keep a lid on it pretty well. But because those corners they don't have deep help really. I mean, they do have that center field safety, but he's the deep help for everybody. He's not just the deep help for them. So, like, if you're Joey Porter covering T. Higgins and he puts the brakes on and runs a comeback or a back shoulder, even, it's going to be really hard to keep that from happening because Porter's first and foremost responsibility is to be as deep as the deepest man. So we can't ever let him get behind him, right? And so if your rule is I can't ever let this guy get behind me, then you're going to allow completions in front of you all the time. Some people call it catch and tackle, right? Where you just give up catches and you try to tackle the guy as soon as he gets caught and not give up yards after the catch. It's a common defense for the Steelers on first and second down, with the idea that this defense is going to stop the run, and then they can get into something a little bit more exotic on third and long, right? That's where you know they're going to pass. You want to be in a different, better defense for the pass, but also just different. And so that's kind of the theory of the way the Steelers are operating. I think the reasons it hasn't worked are some teams don't care about running the ball, like Edelman's Patriots, right? They didn't ever want to run the ball. They just wanted to use the short passing game as a running game, and Edelman had acres of territory in the middle of that cover three to operate. And then, so that it doesn't really work against teams like that don't even care about running the ball. It also doesn't work if you're still not stopping the run. because then you're never getting to the third and long. Like I haven't done the numbers from the wild card game. I'm sure they still played plenty of cover three, but they didn't stop at Derrick Henry. Well, if you're not stopping Derrick Henry and you never get to the situation where you put the offense in an obvious passing situation in order to change up your defense, then you're just always in these 2nd and 3, 3rd and 1, where you have no idea what they're going to do, and you kind of have to hedge, and you end up being in these coverages even more. And so I think the scheme there's nothing wrong with any one thing the Steelers are doing. There's nothing like, oh, no one should ever line up in this, or this is just a crime to even consider. But I think the predictability of the Steelers defense in 2025 or 2024 was way too high. I also think every time they tried to do something unpredictable, they screwed it up. It felt like they weren't prepared enough to make changes to plan A as the season went on. And so I think from a play calling perspective, I feel like Terrell Austin got even more vanilla, right? It's like every time he tried something else, it didn't go right. And so he was just, look at all the communications problems they had in the secondary. You don't have communications problems when you're calling spot drop cover three. You may have open guys, but you don't have communication problems. Everybody in the world knows how to do that. There are middle school teams that know how to do that. You never have to communicate it. It's the other stuff that brings up this communication problems. And so it felt like a sort of perfect storm of, they weren't stopping the run, even though they were playing their best run-stopping back-end coverage. They weren't playing very well in the other defenses that they called, and that made them very basic and very predictable. When I talk to people at NFL events, maybe I meet somebody new for the first time. Oh, what do you do? Oh, cover the Steelers. And they're like, oh my gosh, what happened to Mike Tomlin? What happened to this team? And it's when you start to explain the defensive scheme, people kind of look at you like you have 4 eyeballs, and they're like, wow, that much spot drop, huh? That much cover 3. And then, and look, I'm not saying like, oh, the Steelers should have just played cover 2 all year and that would have been better. Probably not. If it's not stopping the run, cover 2 is not going to help you. It's just the predictability of what they were doing when they were doing it, and their inability to come through with change-ups and win on those changeups. In fact, they hurt themselves more often than the other way around. That I think was a real problem. That's why I feel very comfortable saying that this Steelers defense underperformed its talent, and the coaching needs to do better in 2025. So I got for right now. Be back with more with Smitty on Afternoon Drive from New Orleans as we get ready for Super Bowl 59. And got some hours in the car here between now and then, so I'm going to get to it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, enjoy.